Hello, ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening and welcome back to round 9 of the Race Anywhere Porsche Cup Series Season 1 here on the channel, the Absolute Sim Racing channel. It's David Christie and David Wrestle here with you. David, welcome back. Round 9. We're on the penultimate rounds here at Silverstone tonight. My brain is finally caught up with what I was trying to say there. Firstly, how are you, buddy, after that absolutely crazy week last week?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. But I'm very amused by your inability to remember where we were and what we were doing. I can tell it's been a busy week for you already. But yeah, looking forward to this one. Yeah, it's a shame, isn't it? Because let's say 3 races left if we count the fact that we've obviously got the sprint format next week at Bathurst to round things off. But yeah, we're on the home stretch and I'm feeling a little bit empty, if I'm honest. Look, this track's a big favourite of mine. Always loved Silverstone. Originally from the F1 kind of day, bit of BTCC when they had the old style layout as well. But since I've got into the whole sports car thing as well, it's a completely different kettle of fish, isn't it? It's a great track. I know that some people aren't fans of it in terms of driving it sometimes, but I adore it. It's great fun. Probably the closest at the moment to me geographically speaking as well. So yeah, always holds a little special point to me. 75 minutes endurance race. It's going to be interesting to see how the guys get on with tyres as well, because obviously you've got a lot of high-speed corners. So going to be interesting to see how the guys fare and how strategy comes into play as well tonight.
That's absolutely spot on. And of course, our final endurance race of the season, the last race is going to be a sprint race at Bathurst. But of course, Silverstone, steeped in history, the national circuit down in England, based in Towcester, Northamptonshire, started off life in 1943 as RAF Silverstone. Like many of the tracks down in England, they owe their long straight to RAF bases and repurposing themselves in the late 50s and the late 60s. A very, very popular circuit. It has its critics, it's got to be said, David. Some people don't like how flat it is, they don't like how long and straight it is, but a lot of drivers very, very much enjoy the circuit. Certainly I've got a fond part of me that holds up for this track. It's my very first track that I did my first real life race in, and it's the last racing track that I've actually visited, going to one of the many events that they had there towards the end of last year. But we head down to the track very, very shortly. David, lots to talk about from last week, from Monza. Obviously, it was a very, very controversial week. We're not going to dust up too much of what we already spoke about last week. Thankfully, I don't see too many penalties, if any, on the sheet, and I'm presuming that was because race control deeming that it was all settled out on track. But looking forward to the race just now, not too many cars out there on the track. One thing I did panic about, I did see the lack of Nick Mason. He has just joined up and joined into the service, so we are going to get that pro battle going on into the final couple of weeks. A reminder of the points as they stand in, starting with your AM class just now. That is Ryan Hamilton in the lead of that as we go into round 9 then. 583 points ahead of Jason Dilworth and Chris Chatterton on 576 and 555 respectively. Eric Benson on 552. He can still absolutely take this just now. Into Pro-Am, it's Stuart Reynolds who's currently leading that championship on 581 points, just 20 points ahead of Steve Martin with 561. Dan Sedgley on 559, and then Cody Pride with 550 in fourth place. Igor Kos in fifth position with 521. Still has an outside chance, I believe, but we'll double check that later on tonight. Vince Peters in the lead of the Pro class with 620 points ahead of Nick Mason's 579, Francois Aldrini 529, and Basti Mittler on 497. A small grid out there tonight, 17 cars here, David, but a lot to look forward to.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, it's not ideal. Of course, we all know that. It's been lovely to get the guys back in for the last couple of rounds, but certain things can get in the way, unfortunately. It does mean that there's bigger points on hold for those who are attending as well, and importantly for those, it looks like the main protagonists in each of the championships are attending, barring, from what I can see, Chris Chatterton, which is a bit of a shame. I know he was I know he dropped out of the race last week in the second sprint at Monza because he had a migraine, if I remember correctly, but that's going to be a big dent in his championship title hopes. So it could potentially mean that becomes a 3-horse race in the AM class. Pro-Am looks as spicy as ever. All 4 of them, as you can see, are in there. So Stuart Reynolds through to Cody Pride. And then look, your main 2 in the Pro class, Nick Madsen and Vince Peters are there as well. So yeah, should be an interesting one, but I'll let you run through the grid.
Excellent stuff then. So on the grid for the Pro class then, as the safety car makes their way around, Budovan Kuster alongside Erasio Mantis, then Nick Madsen and Vince Peters. That is your Pro class. Pro-Am is Harry Wills and Eunice Dreyer. You've then got Jean Fierro and Cody Pride, Dan Sedgley alongside Stuart Reynolds, and then you have got Dean Timms with Simon Underhill, Dan Gilding and Eric Benson, and Jason Dilworth with Ryan Hamilton. That is your AM class battle tonight. There might only be 16 cars taking to the start of this race, but this is going to be an absolute cracker as well. Lots of expectations. I want to see things back to how they are and the incredible door-to-door racing that we can see so often. And we get waiting for the start of this race. And Budovan Kuster going to take these Pro cars along for round number 9 here at Silverstone. Goes across the line, and we are green flag racing here for the penultimate round of the championship. Erasmus Mantis has Nick Maidson side by side. Vince Peters is on the outside at turn 4, and then we've got the Pro-Am class just now getting ready to get going. Then it's going to be Eunice Dreyer with Harry Wills leading them across the line. They get underway as well, and Nick Maidson already into second place. He's chasing down Budovan Kuster right now, but the Pro-Ams get underway, and picture in picture again you can see the Ams who make their way over the start-finish line already. So the Pro-Ams look to be getting a little bit more involved with each other. We've got contact already, and that's huge contact. That's Dan Sedgley, I think, into Corey Pride. That might be who's involved there, but either way, 2 cars going off. We'll double check and see who exactly that was there, but that was some big drama there for Pro-Am, and it looks like it's not over yet in Am class as well, as Ryan Hamilton gets gets sent spinning, and Jason Dilworth to the back of the field just behind Ryan Hamilton. So David, that was a bit manic. That was a little bit more chaotic than we're really used to here.
Yeah, we're used to really kind of hard fair starts to races, aren't we? And normally that tends to be the case. Oh, Erasmus Mantis there, he's one of the guys who's faced the wrong way. He just lost it on his own there. That's an interesting one. At that stage, you'd have thought there'd been enough kind of downforce to kick in and keep that car sticking to the road, but it didn't. And I think, this is the Pro-Am start. So you see Harry Wills second in picture there. Is he going to get a bit of a love tap? Oh, no, again, hard to say, but it looks like he just loses it on his own. Cody Pride there, the number 15 car. Look at that slide.
No.
You can see it coming, can't you? Oh, there it is. That was, he's a passenger there, isn't he? There's literally nothing he could have done. It's so unfortunate. It looked to me like, looking at the timing chart, he's actually back in pit lane now as well. So I was going to say he's dropped down to the back of the entire field, but it looks like he might well need to retire, at least fix the damage that he's got, which is a bit of a shame, especially because it keeps everyone else kind of disappearing off into the distance. Steve Martin, Stuart Reynolds, 3rd and 4th in class respectively. So that's pretty big in terms of the Pro-Am Championship.
Yeah, certainly is, and I believe that is what we in the class or the business call a boop. As Nick Maidson makes a move up the inside, a Budovan Kuster. Budovan though tries to get the cut back there. That's intelligent driving from Budovan Kuster. Tries to make the best of a bad situation, and again, very limited on what we can tell here because we know that Nick Maidson's fast. But we also know Vince Peters is very, very fast as well. I get the feeling that strategy is a big part to play tonight. And that is much better seeing how much battling going on. And I guess just very briefly touching on last week, David, and we got a lot of flack because I for sure was very hypercritical over some of the things that we saw on the stream. And for me, just to explain as well, when we've had 7 weeks of watching this thrilling door-to-door, intense racing, but they're always giving each other space, and you see that 1 week where they're maybe just getting into each other a little bit too much, it's difficult not to expect that what we've had. And I think there's a little bit of us that's maybe been spoiled, David, by the incredible action that we've had on previous weeks.
I was just about to say exactly that. Yeah, you almost feel like you've been blessed and, let's say, almost spoiled to an extent with the quality that it has been. It's almost like it had been simmering for the 7 weeks before in certain circumstances, and then maybe just bubbled over in that one. But look, hopefully we don't get a repeat of that. Oh, it's Budovan Kuster, sorry, going sideways through Stowe. I don't know how he's managed to hold on to that, but that is a 3-way battle for the lead in the pro class. Madson's going around the outside into Club. They're going on to the start-finish straight onto the Hamilton straight, and Jesus, wet. Vince Peters, that is an absolute exit and a half. I don't know how he's managed to do that. I don't know whether he just pinched Nick Madsen on the apex, but that exit from him out of Club Corner was fantastic to move up into P2 there.
Wow, that was a move and a half by Vince Peters. Just absolutely kept the foot in there. And you see what I mean? Last week, obviously, we were getting very frustrated. The 3 of them there going 3 wide into Club Corner there, that is nuts, absolutely nuts. So amazing to see that. So Budovan Kuster in the lead from Vince Peters and Nick Maidson. They'll still be going at it as we go on to the AM battle. Then it's Simon Underhill ahead of Dan Gilding and Eric Benson, with Jason Dilworth still in that fight as well. So it's a 5-car battle for the lead right now. Here comes Ryan Hamilton then for Nomad Sim Racing. on the back of Eric Benson, and Eric looking a little bit lost for words there, and I'm not sure if they've got a little bit of a different livery going on tonight, but certainly the four cars there looking rather nice in that blue there, but just chasing up onto the back of Benson there, late on the brakes. And I get the feeling that we are going to be very busy tonight here, David.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see that already, can't you, early doors? Those four blue cars. But hoping we'll see the liveries again in a second. I'm pretty sure I saw them at the top of the race, so hopefully they'll reappear in a moment. But that is effectively, it's the Nomad Sim Racing team against Eric Benson. Effectively, that's kind of the situation we're in. It's Nomad heavy, and that obviously only benefits them in terms of the team's championship as well. But yeah, if we continue the way we are, we're going to be in for some cracking racing for the next hour and 10 minutes or so. And yeah, we've been treated so far. One thing I'm keeping an eye out for, obviously we can see at the top end of the Pro Class in particular, they're trading positions rather quickly. That is in turn giving Arias Gimantis just a chance while he's in that clear air to start to bridge the gap a little bit. Just looking at the timings on there, he was over a second quicker than Madsen and Peters on the last lap. So something to keep an eye out for. If they do keep battling as they are, and they don't seem to be leaving any quarter on the track, then Gimantis is going to get back up onto the back of them rather quickly, I'd have thought.
Yeah, what on earth happened there? Because Vince Peters was obviously up in that second place. So Nick Maidsen, is that up onto the what? I am so confused right now. So that's Nick Maidsen into second place there. So is that Vince Peters that he just took that place from then? So that is wild if that is the case then. So I mean, that was out of absolutely nowhere, and Vince Peters kind of dropping like a stone pace-wise. That is very unusual to see here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the liveries just started throwing us off a little bit, aren't they? But yeah, that definitely was Madsen and Peters. It looked like Peters actually looked like he was on the outside going into Club Corner, and then just got a little bit of a wheel on the grass. And see, we know how volatile these Porsche Cup cars can be. They can tweak at the smallest of kind of adverse conditions, shall we say? And it looked like he just managed to hold on to it, but. Yeah, he's a bit out of character. Again, we talked about out of character of Monway last week. Seems a little bit the same. I don't know whether he's being a bit more conservative, whether he's just trying to get points on the board. Of course, look, I think he probably knows at this stage, as provided he finishes this race in any position in the Pro Class, he's going to be, I'd argue, at least one, maybe a hand and a half, if that's even possible, on the trophy for this season. So maybe he's just being a little bit more conservative as Ryan Hamilton up the inside into Copse Corner. Eric Benson, that's going to be a good move if you get it done. They're going to be side by side going into the Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel complex. This is not a place where you want to be going side by side as it starts to slow down, and quite sensibly you'd say Ryan Hamilton sits in file and just files in ahead of teammate Jason Dilworth. But it looks like these Nomad Sim guys, like Benson's in a double Nomad sandwich, he's under a bit of pressure at the moment as the slow-mo racing driver.
Absolutely is, and the Nomads team making their way through here and doing a fairly decent job of trying to take a clean sweep, basically, as we see Ryan Hamilton. And just to clarify, the blue cars that you do see on the other angle are still the Nomad cars. It's just that their paints haven't updated as of yet. It can take a couple of minutes or several minutes for that to refresh, so we'll get that done as soon as we can. But Ryan Hamilton then, he is really chasing down Eric Benson, and poor Eric Benson, honestly, it must feel like a Nomad sandwich right now as we see Steve Martin and trying to get the better of Jaime Fierro. Fierro goes wide down into Village Corner, then through into the loop for the fifth time of asking. And again, it's just an absolute sandwich in the middle of Pro-Am right now as you've got Eunice Dreyer up in front of that one. Steve Martin now side by side as Jaime Fierro tries to go round the outside of the corner, and to be fair, that's a good effort round into Brooklands, and what a move from Jaime Fierro. That is really nice. So close to getting that done on Steve Martin. Wasn't to be, but the drive that he's got there, 100%, it's just a case of when, not if. And David, 10 minutes gone already in this 75-minute race, and I get the impression we are going to be absolutely shattered at the end of this race.
Yeah, absolutely. Spare a thought for Mike Yow on the cameras, having to keep an eye on all the action we've got at the moment. It is very, very chaotic indeed in these early stages. And just going back to what you said there, Dave, about the move from Fiero, or the defensive move on street runners as well, did exactly what he needed to do, which was hold it as late as he dared into Brooklands, and then he gets that inside into Luffield and can hold on to the move. It's a classic. If you've seen any race around here before, it's almost like Racecraft 101. Try and stay on the outside of that one, because you've got a nice tight corner where you can effectively just shove them onto the gravel on the outside and the exit of Luffield. But you can be a little bit more argy-bargy, put the elbows out a little bit and give yourself that little bit of breathing room as you head up towards Cop. So yeah, really good work from him. But this is what we've come to expect from the Pro-Am class, to be fair. These guys are so similarly paced. They're practically running identical lap times, and it means they stay really close. The AM class is exactly the same as well. The pros have been slightly different. Obviously, we've had differing levels of attendance and things like that, but they're close as well. But it's always been the AM and the Pro-Am classes that are so similar in terms of pace and racing and ability. It just makes those classes so much fun to watch.
Well, I'll tell you what, all is forgiven for last week after what we've seen the first 10 minutes of this race. This is exactly what we come to expect from this championship, from everyone taking part tonight. Nick Maidson onto the back of Budovan Kuster, and again, this is a really, really good defence from Budovan Kuster, trying to hold on to that position there. And the thing is that Silverstone is so wide here, David, that, you know, again, one of the things that, and I'll hold my hands up here, one of the things that I didn't take into consideration is just how narrow Monza can be at times on entry into an exit from the corners. It can be really difficult to try and hold on to a position and not overcomplicate things for corner entry and corner exit. Whereas Silverstone, it's the entire track is so wide. The cars are spoilt for choice on where they want to push things. And for me, Nick Maidson's in a really difficult position here, because Budovan Kuster he's not slow. And the thing is that Maidson is pushing so hard to try and get past that Vince Peters, he's the one that's going to benefit here, because he's just able to do his fast pace without burning up his tyres here. And there we go again. Maidson tries to make a move, doesn't make it, and Vince Peters is just like, yeah, thanks very much, I'll just take that, thank you.
Yeah, he's not making it easy for them, is he? I don't think Kuster's doing anything wrong. I think it's just the fact that they're compromising each other by running the lines they are. Like you said, you saw Nick Madsen just probing at every single opportunity. You see it again there. That's kind of just putting his nose where it doesn't, not where it shouldn't be. He's got every right to do what he's doing, but it's compromising him and Budovan Kuster's race. And then, like you say, it's giving Vince Peters a chance to basically just attach onto the back of them. He's just fortunate, Nick Madsen, that he got the run out of Club Corner onto the Hamilton Straight, that he could keep the position. But now, look, he's got to defend now. Going into Brooklands, he's got Vince Peters round the outside, but that's not going to work. It doesn't look like I'd expect to see, pretty comfortable in defence from Madsen there. But it is one of them. You've got to be so careful. These guys are so close together that if there's any move that Madsen tries to make that isn't absolutely on the money, picture perfect, he's got the chance he's going to lose the position to Peters. Now, yes, look, we've got over an hour left of the race, but it's still the kind of thing you don't want to be doing and getting kind of too hot and heavy and banged up early doors into the race, because that will impact you later on in the session.
Yeah, it certainly is. And the thing that gives me really weird vibes is the whole Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen vibe that we've got here at Silverstone from these two battling. Thankfully, I think the pair of those F1 greats could take a lesson from Mr. Maidson and from Mr. Peters here tonight, because this is proper class racing that we've got going on. Meanwhile, as we go picture in picture, the main picture is all about Ryan Hamilton, who finally, praise the Lord, has got past Eric Benson. Benson's Porsche must be as wide as a double-decker bus, given how hard that Ryan Hamilton had to work to get past that. And if you ask me, I think Eric Benson deserves to get an invite to go and slap a blue livery on and automatically get invited into the Nomad Hall of Fame after that one, because that was a cracking little bit of defence there from Eric Benson as we head in with about 15 minutes gone in the race just now. As you said, about an hour left to go here. We've got the main pro battle going on in picture-in-picture. You said a couple of minutes ago about how you didn't think Budovan Kuster isn't doing anything wrong. Absolutely. I mean, again, to put a line in the sand from this and last week, the fact is that Budovan Kuster and Nick Maidson and Vince Peters, they're all lapping faster than the entire field. The last lap was a 2:03.5, 2:03.5, 2:03.8 for Kuster, for Maidson and for Peters respectively. And you think that Kuster's doing that while he's out in front. He's the fastest car out there. Maidson's doing that while he's trying to weave like a maniac, trying to dig and prod and poke and find places there. And Peters somehow just... this is the bit that always gets me about Vince Peters, and that we didn't see last week, but we see every other week. He's so nonplussed about everything. He just doesn't move. He just sort of does his own thing, and suddenly, like Moses in the Red Sea, everything else just parts for him.
Yeah, he's arguably one of the most level-headed racers I've ever seen. Obviously, I know we've only spoken to him once, maybe twice at a push in the season, but he's not bothered by anything. As Nick Madsen looks for the inside, going into Chapel, onto the hangar straight there, a little bit of a door bang there. They've just about managed to hold on to it though, but that is going to give Nick Madsen the inside line as long as he can stay alongside. He's just about kind of sitting in behind now. Vince Peters go down the inside. This is not going to work. Oh, a bit of contact. Fortunately, it looks like, Kuster's gone a little bit wide. That's dropped him out. Vince Peters then gone, thank you very much, and exactly as you just said there, just goes, yep, I'll take that position, I'll go into the class lead, that's not a problem at all. But fortunately, that was, again, I would call that a racing incident. I don't think anything untoward was from Nick Madsen there, just wasn't maybe fully aware that he was in the kind of right behind Kuster's car, and as a result, a little bit of a nudge. Fortunately, everyone's still running, and look, they're still within a second of each other, as you'd expect.
Certainly are. Look at this pro-am battle going on right now. Jaime Fierro trying to catch on to the back of Eunice Dreyer. Eunice Dreyer losing the lead now to Steve Martin. That is a turn up for the book. Steve Martin gets clear of Eunice Dreyer then, and Jaime Fierro trying to catch on to that. And again, oh man, I want to watch this, but I almost don't want to watch this. I swear to God, David, when they went almost 3 wide down there, my heart, everything slowed down, and it was just like this voice in my head was just screaming, no. It's a little bit of door banging going on there between your two championship contenders here. This is awesome stuff, and long may it continue, because the thing is that if it's just these two, knocking lumps out of each other, have at it, boys. Absolutely have at it. It was just, it's awesome to see. Jaime Fierro, though, still trying to catch up to Steve Martin right now. He's got past Eunice Dreyer, so Dreyer has been mugged all the way from pole position from the lead off the race down into third position. Meanwhile, Nick Maidson loses out as well. Budovan Kuster now up into second place. So it was actually Budovan Kuster that he was trading paint with there, and I was getting all excited thinking it was the championship leader. And I'm gonna. And the thing is this is where I like how much I've matured as a commentator, because I have to give as good as I'm getting. I'm not liking the way that Nick Maidson is driving tonight in terms of. It looks a bit wild. It looks like he's just properly trying to send it in, as Harry Wills gets the Teriyaki Boys on loud and sends it around. I think that is going to be into Cop's corner. And thankfully he gets control of the car again. Doesn't really cause himself any issues too much, other than a little bit, David, of bruised pride.
Yeah, absolutely. Talking of pride, of course, you see Cody Pride out of the race. Unfortunately, had to get that tenuous link in there as soon as you said that. Like you say, I'm kind of with you. Look at that contact between them. There's no malice in that particular one. I think it's just that they've trying to kind of battle for the same piece of real estate on track. But Nick Madsen he's being quite aggressive, and look, don't get me wrong, we can see that replay there. You can see Kuster just goes and almost walks.
Oh, wonder why then.
Yeah. Walks his way in like a shoehorn at Luffield and just goes, right, yeah, I'm coming down the inside of here and you're just going to have to get out of the way pretty much. So you can kind of see the reason why there's that aggression on track. But I have to agree. I think Nick is he's obviously in that position where he feels like he has to kind of go all out to try and get the points off of Vince Peters. Taking lumps at the side of his car and other cars around him, maybe not the best way to do it. Again, not much malice. I just think he's maybe being a little bit over aggressive at the moment. I think what maybe they need to realise a little bit is, look, we're 20 minutes into a 75-minute race. Just calm it down a little bit. I mean, not too much because we want to see the action, but try not to take each other off in the process, and that might be a good starting point to get to the end and be on that Procast podium.
Yeah, certainly is. And also saying that Bourbon Kuster fighting Vince Peters. What? On you go, son. Bourbon Kuster into the lead of the race. That is not in the script then. And that slows down Vince Peters into the path of Nick Maidson. So maybe it's just a case that these two are absolutely having fun and there's actually contact. What the hell is going on right now? They're in the same skin. I'm going to presume they are vaguely teammates because this is getting a little bit dicey here. I've actually got no idea what on earth is going on. Nick Maidson fires up the inside out of nowhere and Maidson takes the lead again. Oh my goodness me. Bourbon Kuster gets sent back to third place there, David, and well, that definitely wasn't in the script.
What a move from Nick Madsen. That was incredible. I mean, we'll come back to it in a second because Simon Underhill's trying to go around the outside of Ryan Hamilton. He's not going to manage to get it done, and it just means that Dan Gilding just keeps disappearing off up the road. He's got a 4-second gap at the moment, but what a move that was from Nick Madsen. It was just one of them, again, opportunistic moves, and that's what you get from drivers of this quality. Anyone else probably, especially myself, speaking from experience, I'd have sat back and waited for them to hit each other most likely if that was going to be the case. These guys just don't do that. Look at this on the replay. He gets such a good run out of Stowe Corner and then just goes, oh, Vince has kind of gone into the middle of the track here, presumably to cover off Kuster. I'm just going to go, yep, that's fine. I'm going to get on the brakes. I'm going to be so good on the brakes, I'm not going to lock it up, despite the fact I've got no ABS. I'm just going to ride that sausage curb on the inside, and I'm going to appear in Vince Peters' front windscreen and go, there you go, lads, that's how it's done. There's the lead of the class again. It's unbelievable. Honestly, the quality of this action so far has been brilliant.
That was unbelievable. It really, really was. And I again, here's a question for Kuster's taking the lead again. Oh my goodness me! What I don't understand, right, is a very poor sim racer myself. How can Bourbon Kuster and Vince Peters be so close to each other? Peters was away to turn in, and Kuster was still there, and Peters still managed to avoid him. I just don't get how skillful you have to be. Nick Maidsen's out. Nick Maidson is out of the race. What has happened to Nick Maidson?
Oh, what's happened? I've got no idea. I don't know.
Has he crashed or? Oh no! He's just gone. Oh, wait a minute. Is there a penalty limit?
I mean, that's
the only thing I can think.
So I'm not normally lost for words. I just don't know what's happened to him. He's just disappeared.
Right. So what you've just seen in front of you then, that was okay. Right. So Nick Maidson has basically rage quit. He's already into the driver's chat complaining about it's not racing, only blocking and team driving. I'm not even touching that one with barge pole after last week. I got myself in way too much trouble getting involved with that one. All I'm going to say is I saw much less in that this week, and it just looked like all three of them were just playing dodgem cars with each other.
I was going to say, yeah, I'm with you on that one. I mean, look, like I say, people can say what they want to. Obviously, everyone's entitled to their opinion. But this one, I think it was just a little bit hard, a little bit kind of rough and ready in terms of some of the contact we're having. But there was nothing really untoward there. I don't think. I think it was, like I say, just good old fashioned racing. They were battling so often. There was no chance anyone was going to pull away. So I don't know how things were going to change. Awkwardly placed big old speaker in the middle of the corner there. It's really strange one. But anyway, look, it's happened now. It's a shame because we were being treated to some fantastic racecraft and some brilliant racing. Luckily for us, though, we're blessed with two more classes that have got some very competitive and very good and very worthy race drivers in there as well. And you can see at the moment, Jonas Dreyer third in class, that number 7 machine. He's got Stuart Reynolds behind him, Jaime Fierro in front of him, and they're all split by the best part of a second. So look, we might have lost one battle, but we've still got another couple that we can focus on, which is fantastic to see.
Plenty of stuff to keep our eyes focused, but what I will say is a closing comment on that. I believe that now immediately crowns Vince Peters as the pro champion if he finishes this race in first position.
I think you're right. Yeah, I think, like I say, obviously drop rounds to take into account. This will be Nick Madeson's drop round, so that's all but confirmed, unless he obviously doesn't want to come back for the race at Bathurst next week. But that will effectively be that drop round done. So yeah, as far as I can see, I'm not very good at maths, so I'm not going to get out my my calculator and try and do all of that kind of thing, my abacus and that sort of stuff. But yeah, I think you're right. I think that is championship goes to Vince Peters, barring any miraculous mistakes or anything coming into the back end of these last couple of rounds.
Jeez, that's all I can say on that one. Good Lord. 25 minutes gone in the race, and we've had about a season's worth of action drama already kicking off. Also, having a look at the fact that Arius Yamantis now suddenly is only 6 seconds off of Budavin Kuster, so that gap starting to come down. But we focus elsewhere, which is great actually in another way, David, because it allows us to give much more attention to the classes that we've not been looking at as much as we should do. Pro-Am then, Steve Martin ahead of Jaime Fierro, Jonas Dreyer in third position. It's then Stuart Reynolds in fourth with Dan Sedgley in fifth. Harry Wills into the pits after that spin there. But here we go, Jonas Dreyer catching up to that second place of Jaime Fierro. In the AM battle then, it is Dan Gilding who is in the lead of the AM battle. Ryan Hamilton in second, Simon Underhill in third position, Jason Dilworth in fourth, and Eric Benson in fifth there then. So yeah, that is, I'm still absolutely reeling from that bombshell. So with 26 minutes gone in the race here then, as we keep an eye on Nomad Sim Racing. Again, David, Nomad Sim Racing in that AM Championship, they have just been incredible. That's them now got the top 4 spaces in the AM Championship right now. And I mean, we've spoken to them a couple of times. Obviously, they put a lot of work into things.
I think, yeah, I was going to say exactly that. They are the epitome of prepared and committed in terms of a team in sim racing. There's not many I can think of out there. There's a bit of contact between Fierro and Dreyer there. Dreyer's been left out to Dreyer on the outside there, just coming out of I didn't want to say.
How long, David, have you been waiting to get that one in, young man?
I didn't want to do it, but it kind of had to be done, didn't it? It was one of those. But yeah, look, they are, going back to it, all joking aside, in fact, actually, no, we'll come back to that in a minute, because look at this. This is Jaime Fierro still under a bit of pressure from Dan Sedgley. He goes up the inside into Village. He's going to have is he going to try and go for a little move up this inside of the loop? He's not. That is one of those ones. I've done it in many races in the past in a number of different sims. Because they matter different lines you can take into that corner, I've been spun out a few times because I've gone for the whole right, going to swing it really far to the right and open up the corner, and then you just see someone goes, they're giving me the move, and just send it up the inside and spin you out. Luckily, that hasn't happened so far yet, so these guys are clearly a lot more cleverer than those that I tend to liaise with on other servers in other sims as well.
It's the sim race equivalent of somebody going to you, I'm sorry, did you want that space? How rude of me. It's like, well, yeah, I've kind of intimated that's exactly what I'm going to do there, but never mind. The battle for Pro-Am still rages on. Steve Martin's now is 4.5 seconds ahead of Stuart Reynolds here in this Pro-Am Championship. I can't believe we're already on the penultimate round of the season here. It's flown by. We have been absolutely spoiled with the action here that's been going on. One thing that I am not too sure about, Vince Peters did a 2:06.67 last lap round, Budavin Kuster 2:03.9. That gap now down under a second between those two, and that gap was 5 laps ago. So yeah, I'm not sure what's happening with Vince Peters. We'll keep an eye on that, but we'll keep an eye on this for just now, because James Fierro has a lot of pressure behind from Eunice Dreyer and from Dan Sedgley. So cars already going into pit lane here with half an hour gone. Am I wrong in thinking that's quite early, or do we think that this is all planned?
I'd say, look, generally speaking, it's probably about the time you'd expect them to come in. I was about to say that's some impressive times from Reynolds and Dreyer doing 2:01s as they come into the pit lane, but of course the pit lane at the Silverstone GP circuit cuts out the final couple of corners, so even with the pit lane, we're trying to gain a little bit of time. But yeah, look, I think, not normally in the past we've seen people come in around between sort of 25 to 35 minutes into the race for that first stop. It's only 55 litres of fuel they can take, so in iRace terms, it's the sprint level of fuel, if I'm not mistaken, so a little bit less kind of wiggle room. But yeah, it's about that time, and these guys have been battling pretty hard, so I don't think there's really been any element of fuel saving in this Pro-Am class up until this point. Might be different, say, to the Pro class, especially now that we've unfortunately, of course, lost Nick Madsen. It might be the same in the Am class, just for the fact the Nomad guys are so close together as well, but the Pro-Am ones they've been battling literally lap after lap after lap. It's been quite impressive, and look, hopefully the strategies don't play out in such a way that they end up with gaps in there, because if they keep close together, we're going to be in for a belter of the last 45 minutes or so of this race.
Yeah, we certainly are. Just looking at the field here, David, I know you're getting back into your sim racing, as am I. Whereabouts do you think you'd be placing on the track and in the field, as it were?
Well, funny story. I went into a iRacing race at Spa earlier on this week, and I saw it was one of the guys on this server. And I cannot for the life remember what it was. It was one of the Am guys. I think it was one of the Nomad people. It might have been Ryan Hamilton, but again, name escapes me. I looked at his iRating, as you do. You kind of get a bit of a bearing, that sort of thing. I think he was 1.5k higher than me. So if I was in this race, I've got a 2k iRating, which I'm quite pleased with. But that's about my level. I think I would be at least 2 laps down at this point. An absolute minimum. Because these guys are ridiculous, especially in this car as well. I couldn't deal with this Porsche Cup car. I've got a lead foot, so as soon as I put my foot down, I'd be spinning around. I'd end up being the one doing donuts on the edge of Stowe, just for the entire 75 minutes till I've got no tyres left.
Well, see, I've got a little bit more faith in myself. I think I'd be fighting with Area Shimantis up in that Pro class, as he puts me 3 laps down. But yeah, I'm exactly the same as yourself. And the thing is, though, is that I'm very curious, and it's a weird one, because the past 2 years I've almost exclusively been doing sim racing commentary and not really doing much in the way of sim racing. And then I got to the end of last year and I thought, I actually want to do a little bit of this. I want to get back into doing competitions. I want to do some competitive stuff, just to see how bad I'd actually be. I don't think I'd be that bad, but I'm certainly not going to be in Pro or Pro-Am, that is for sure. And that's the great thing, is that we can do a couple of seasons of doing comms and then just decide to get behind the wheel of something.
Yeah, absolutely. I've committed Thursday nights every other week to racing in a league, in a GT4 league on ACC. So it's one of those where, look, the commentary life is great. It's great to see, especially when you get a series like this. I think you and I will both agree we've been sport rotten with the action we've had in the rounds that we've had so far, including tonight so far. Let's not take that away from anything. But it is nice to get back into the car. It's just a bit demoralising, from my perspective at least, when you go into it and you go into a race, and even if it's on like a public server or anything like that, or any one of the many sim racing communities you can go into and kind of get onto quick daily races, that sort of thing. When you go into it and straight away you end up about 2 seconds off the pace of the fastest people, and you think, well, how on earth are they that quick? And I'm thinking, I'm extracting everything I can out of this car, and they just come out and do that, and I'm just at a loss as to how they manage it. But
I was waiting to say, just on that note, there's 2 things that wind me up about it. Firstly, as a commentator, when you speak to the pro drivers and you're thinking, as we see Simon Underhill and Jason Dilworth into pit lane here, that was an amazing performance. You must put a lot of practice in preparation into this race. And I've popped on for about like 15 minutes, and you're like, what? How can you actually do that? And like you said, I'll be in ACC and we'll do qualifying, and I'm quite happy. I'm sitting second place, and I'm like, yeah, I'll take that. And then suddenly 5 cars come in, and you're like down to 8th position, at 5 seconds off the pace, or 3.5 seconds off the pace, and you're just like, I'll just quit now then, shall I? It is demoralising, but it also is quite inspiring because it lets you know that there is much more to get out of the car and out of the track as well. And yeah, it's shenanigans abound. But anyway, back to the race itself as we get close to the halfway mark in the race. We're about, 3 minutes away from the halfway point, and 75 minutes going to be. But just thinking on that note then, David, obviously with the Pro, we've got Vince Peters in the lead of the race, but somehow by 25 seconds, I think Vince has still got to go into pit lane maybe. Budovan Kuster in second, Rishi Mantis in third. Pro-Am is Dan Sedgley from Steve Martin and Stuart Reynolds, and then in AM class it's Dan Gilding from Ryan Hamilton and Simon Underhill. Right, looking forward then to the next half of the race. Things have spread out massively here. We've got, I think we might still have another pit stop to do, given that we barely got to the halfway point here, but it might be a splash and dash, if anything. What do we expect to see in the next half of the race?
Well, look, I think we'll be very happy if we get everything kind of bunched back up again. Like you say, 2 class leaders in the Pro and the Pro class. Peters and Sedgley both in the pits at the moment. So yeah, you were right. They hadn't pitted up until that point, hence the sizable gaps. I think looking at it, obviously, well, you can see what the intervals are. It's going to be a lot closer in the Pro-Am class than it is the Pro, because Dan Sedgley, of course, just under 23 seconds, the gap, just nearly 26 between Peters and Kuster. So we'll see how that kind of forms. But look, I think we've seen it happen all the time, haven't we? We kind of look at these gaps and we go, oh God, well that's... I think to myself, at least, I'm going, oh God, right, okay, the gaps are quite big. There might be... they're going to come out of the pits, there's going to be like a good sort of 10 seconds between them and nothing's going to happen. And then all of a sudden, you come back out and someone's elected to do a really long pit stop or vice versa, and they come out like right in the thick of things again. So it's really difficult to tell because there is an open strategy. They could fill the car 55 litres at the start. They could go to the first pit stop, do the same again. And like you said, just splash and dash at the end, whatever's needed at the end. I'm sure they've all got fuel calculators doing that, but no one seems to do that, which I quite admire, because I would be that person. I would go, yeah, fill it, see what's left at the end. Whereas these guys, they seem to have, especially the Nomad guys, just going back to what we said about them earlier, they're so prepared. I think they've probably all got in a way, I guess, a bespoke strategy to each of them that fits their strengths. Some of them might be better on lower fuel, some might be better on more, and that kind of thing. And that's where I love this aspect of the endurance race as much as it's sprint race, because as all good endurance races are, go back to cast mind back to real life in the Daytona 24 at the weekend, you don't know who's going to be winning in any of the classes until pretty much the last couple of minutes, which is exactly what you want. You want the action all the way through, but realistically you want it to be spicy at the end, and that's what we seem to get in every single one of these endurance rounds. Yeah,
and that is why we really enjoy it so much. I've just had a bit of a thought. It's more of a curiosity than anything. I'd be very interested to see how many incident points the drivers are on just now, because given, well, that is massively surprising. Budovan Kuster only on 1x and Vince Peters on 0x, given the nudging and the bumping that was going on earlier. That is wow. I never had a thought of that, but that might. Oh, that's only off tracks that we're seeing on that one. So yeah, panic over on that one. I think they'll be slightly higher given the actual instance that we've seen here. But we've got more fighting going on in front of Dan Sedgley here. This is the Pro-Am battle then. It's kicking off very, very nicely then as Stuart Reynolds getting past Gianpiero Fierro, trying to stay ahead of Eunice Dreyer, and Dan Sedgley in behind that as well. So Pro-Am was looking very, very comfortable, but that's now starting to slip away because Gianpiero and Eunice Dreyer and Dan Sedgley, they're all in their own little fight. And if I'm not mistaken, they're going to be coming across some other cars as well. The other thing as well, David, as we've hit the halfway point in the race here, is the fact that I wonder how many drivers are thinking about their championships right now. How many drivers are looking at it and going, right, I need to finish here. I would like to get up further, but I just need the points from here.
Yeah, exactly. I think you're right. Dan Sedgley's a great example of that. Of course, the good thing is I managed to just about figure out roughly how much time it takes to go in a pit stop, because I think you're looking at about 27 seconds just based on the distance between Kuster and Peters now they've come out of the pit lane. But yeah, it is one of them. I think you're kind of probed for the move every now and again. The difficulty for Sedgley is the fact that number 77 ahead of him is Dan Gilding, so he's leading the AM class, so he's got no need to get out of the way. He is there on merit. In terms of on-track position, so it's difficult for him because it is a balancing act of, look, how far do I push this? Because as we know, at the moment he's sitting third in the championship. He's 20 or 30 odd points behind Stuart Reynolds. It's close, but realistically he does need to close that gap. Stuart's in a much stronger position, second in class. He's a few seconds off Steve Martin. He's got plenty in hand to Hayden Fierro behind him. He's in a bit more of a cosy position, so he can afford to maybe be a little bit more cautious. But Dan Sedgley's in that situation where he needs to push a little bit. Now, fortunately, I think that's Jonas Dreyer going a little bit wide. Oh, that was very close indeed. I thought it was a little bit of a fishtail from Jonas Dreyer, as Dan Sedgley, interestingly, goes into the pits again.
And that is surely going to be an unplanned stop. Given that Dan Sedgley, I believe this is going to be his second stop, I want to say. It's saying that that's his first, so we'll keep an eye on that. I mean, that would be a bold strategy if that is the case for Dan Sedgley. In fact, no, it's not. He is out into pit lane then, so that is his second stop. And maybe, actually, that could be sensible, because if he doesn't want to chance it on a splash and dash, he can take his pit stop now and just go to the end. So that could be a 3000 IQ moment there from Dan Sedgley.
I was going to say, playing 4D chess at the moment, isn't he? I thought it was going to be, because I was looking at the timing charts he went in. Of course, we can see that on the live timing, whether when he's in the pits, when he's stopped and things like that. I wondered if he'd been given a drive-through for speeding the pit lane, maybe, just because the fact he just came in so quickly. But yeah, 6.43 second in pit time. I think what he's done is exactly what you said, David. I think he's taken into account how much fuel he needs. He's probably got a fuel calculator there saying, right, you need X amount of litres or whatever to finish the race. If he has done that, that's very, very clever, because he wasn't going to be getting any time stuck in the gap he was. He was in between two AM-class drivers, and Hayden Fierro and that were ahead of him anyway, so he was always going to struggle. If that works out for him, that is going to be seriously impressive, and just for the sake of the fact that it's something a bit different, I really hope it pans out well for him, because I think it's a really clever strategy from Dan.
I have to agree with you. I think he could be making hay while the sun shines on that one. If he can go back to his sort of personal best pace, he would be faster than the likes of Stuart Reynolds and Hayden Fierro, and he would likely make up a little bit of time as well. So that is a very curious way for Dan Sedgley to be doing things, but it could be the right way. We'll have to wait and see ultimately on what happens there. Hayden Fierro drops to the back of the car of Jonas Dreyer there, so fourth place in class for him. And meanwhile, pro class is still Boudewijn Kuster by 1.2 seconds from Vince Peters. This is Arias Yamantis, who is caught in trouble, actually, to be honest with you, because he's behind Stuart Reynolds in that Pro-Am battle, and he seems to be losing out quite a lot of time as well, and is soon going to come under pressure from Jonas Dreyer. And Boudewijn Kuster now fighting it out with Vince Peters, and you get the feeling that this is going to end in tears for one of these two drivers in that pro battle, David. And I guess that throws out the window any idea that they're working together.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the whole team thing confuses me slightly, I've got to be honest, because as we've rightly seen, they're wearing the same livery. They're driving in the same liveried car, but if you go on the live timing, they're actually from different teams. I'm not entirely sure what the situation is there, whether it's just a coincidence or whether there is something more afoot. I'm really not sure, to be completely honest. As you can see there, I thought if Vince Peters had made the move, but he hadn't done. I think he changed on the timing tower, but has then since reversed itself. So I wonder if that was a little bit of a nose at the inside at Cops and then lost that position. I'm keeping an eye as well, just going back to it. I know we talked about it a second ago, but I'm keeping an eye on the times from Dan Sedgley. he wasn't quicker on the last lap. He was already gained about a second on Jaime Fierro just because of the fact they're in this battle. You can see him on your picture now as going into Stoke Corner again. Kustas just manages to hold on to that position. But I think, again, if this works out well, I think what Dan said he's got to worry about is Eric Benson. He's 10 seconds off the AM class train at the moment. He's a little bit adrift at this moment in time. I think what he's going to have to hope is that Benson pits before Sedgley catches him, or he doesn't make it too difficult, because that is going to be make or break, I think, to the chance of him potentially getting back up to the top of that Pro-Am class.
That's actually a really good shout on that one, because Benson is starting to try and pull that gap in, and it's surely only going to be a matter of time before he actually does anything with that. Again, watching that battle with Dan Sedgley there, he's going to be coming across the line very, very shortly to complete his lap. He's already taken about a second out there, and what's happened? Dan Sedgley is out. Dan Sedgley, after that 3,000... Oh, no, he's not. Right, okay. I was panicking there because he disappeared on live timing, and he's come back again. What was his last lap there? So what is going on with... I'm wondering if he's maybe got some connection issues, because he's lost a bit of time there, and he's also went off. So, yeah, that's a bit bizarre how he's went into the pits 3 times in one lap, according to the live timing, but obviously hasn't done. Right, what is going... Do you think these two are just actually playing with each other because they've got nobody else on track right now? This is just... It's a bit of a fairground. It's dodgem cars for these two.
That racecraft practice 101, isn't it? There's no one else to worry about, so they can kind of just focus on having a bit of fun. Interestingly, contrast to last week, I know we keep bringing it up and we kind of loosely said we wouldn't do, but they're not in a team chat as far as I can see on the Discord server like they were last week, so don't know if that is any reason behind that, but yeah, I think they've got 15 seconds back to Mantis. They're going to finish P1 and P2, you would expect. It's just a case of in what order do they finish. You can even see them at the moment, Vince Peters and Budimir Kuster, just kind of shifting up and down in terms of P1 and P2. There you go, it's happened again. I wonder if they're just having a little bit of fun with it, and who can blame them when you've got that gap and it's the two of you out there? You might as well have a bit of practice in terms of preparing yourselves in terms of what might happen going forwards. I'm just looking in the rearview mirror of Dan Gilding's car. I can't quite figure out what his helmet is, but it looks like something out of maybe like Super Mario or Pac-Man or something like that. It looks like maybe one of the ghosts out of Pac-Man. I just caught a glimpse of it in the rearview mirror, and now I can't stop thinking about what it might be.
We'll have to see if we can get it on board with Dan Gilding's car then and find out exactly what that is. Oh no, it's not. It's from Rick and Morty. It's Mr. Meeseeks. That's what it is. Jerry's not going to be helping him today. He doesn't need any help because Dan Gilding out in front. I'm positive that's what that helmet is anyway. Out in front then, and that is a decent effort though. But again, no surprise to see, really, Nomad Sim Racing 1, 2, 3, 4 in this penultimate race of the season here for the Race Anywhere Porsche Cup. A huge thank you, as always, to our commercial partners, to Sim3D, to Go for the Gap, and to Race Anywhere for making this series and all the other series happen here. Simon Underhill going a little bit wide. It is. There you go. Do you know what the immediate temptation was to try and do the impersonation, but I'm not going to.
That's quite impressive and yet really disturbing at the same time. I'm probably one of the few people who hasn't actually fully watched Rick and Morty, so that means nothing to me.
You're not right. So basically, he's like a little genie that gets. It comes out of I can't even remember what it is. You push a button and he pops out and he grants you whatever your wish is. And if he can't fulfill that, then he'll bring out another Mr. Meeseeks to do that. And he jumps out the little box and shouts, "I'm Mr. Meeseeks, look at me." There you go. That's it. Right. I mean, it's a lot funnier on the actual show. It loses a lot of its comedic value.
I'm just really enjoying watching that head just bobble under the bumps at the Silverstone circuit. It looks like one of the most brilliant bobbleheads that you'd put on your windowsill at home. It looked like I can't not see that now. So I'm gonna have to come back to this broadcast after tonight's race, and when we've finished this evening, I'm gonna have to keep watching that on repeat, I think, and it would just be one of those things that would just make me chuckle, make it into a GIF or something. But anyway, We'll turn our focus back.
You've instantly just
the
shown how
race,
old you
shall
are. Apparently, gifts are for only over 30s, so I don't think you're quite there yet, David. Are you?
No, I'm 30 in December, but that's a
Oh well, yeah. There we go. That's
yeah,
what.
not far off.
That's borderline right there. But as you said, I mean, back to the race here, and Eunice Dreyer, he is having a fight to hold on to this position from Jean Fierro, and I believe actually is that the Nomad cars that he's got behind him from the AM class, because that's Jean Fierro. That's Dan Gilding and the number 24 of the AM class of Ryan Hamilton that they've got there. So incredible pace from the AM class cars, and Dan Sedgley, that I don't know if he's able to bring that back up. I mean, he's doing a 2:04.7, but that's not faster really than anyone else in the Pro-Ams. And Eric Benson now down into to last place there.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like you say, I was actually thinking about the whole Eric Benson, Dan Sedgley thing. It was actually a lot closer than I thought it was. I just looked at the relative after making that point, and yeah, like I said, there was only a few seconds between them. Fortunately for Dan, Eric's gone off track and seemingly is still off. I mean, it looks like he's redeemed himself now. He's back on track. They're looking at the interval timings, but yeah, Dan Sedgley's not really making the gains that you and I both expected he would. I don't think he's still 18 and a half seconds, or the best part of 18 seconds away from Fierro ahead. He's on this picture. I mean, you see Jonas Dreyer and then Fierro's the car right behind him, and like you say, you got the two Nomad boys of Gilding and Hamilton just in behind, but they're not fighting enough for it to really reward Dan Sedgley's intent and gamble, for want of a better phrase. If they were battling a bit more, then you'd think maybe they gained a bit of time, but it just looks like they're quite happy to sit in the wheel tracks of one another, put in some half decent some half decent times and carry on. As Budovin Kuster, he was in P1, now in P2, goes into the pit lane. So it looks like he's making his second stop.
Yeah, so that'll be with 25 minutes left to go. That may be his final stop of the evening, although he's in a long time. It may be that he short-stopped on his first pit stop, but either way, I mean, that is a long pit stop for Budovin Kuster. And I wonder if something has happened to that car there, David, because that is still in pit lane, and that is surely longer than it actually needed to be, given that he didn't short stint the first pit stop. And yeah, I get the impression that is heavy damage that has been repaired on that car there.
Yeah, it's got to be, hasn't it? Like I say, 40 seconds in pit lane and counting. So considering the longest time in pit lane was Aries Humantis over 20.73. That looks like it's, terminal damage, to say the least. Hopefully, for his sake and in terms of his points in the championship and the wider scheme of things, hopefully he does manage to get back out, because even if he finishes P3, that's still 90 points on his championship total. So it will still benefit him to even get back out, even if he does have to sit there and become a lap or two down in the process. But really big shame, because yeah, it looked like they were really enjoying a nice, fun little battle. It wasn't something that we were paying too much focus to, because we've got this battle going on in the Pro-Am class / Am class as well. But yeah, it looked like things were continuing to spice up a little bit, which, well, it's definitely not going to be the case now, which is a shame.
Yeah, for sure. So, just having a look up at Vince Peters then. He is in the lead of this race, and I'm also seeing that Steve Martin actually catching up to Vince Peters. Now, this isn't for the same class, because obviously Vince Peters in Pro class and Steve Martin in the Pro-Am class, but curious to see that gap coming down to 7 seconds between those two on track as it stands. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on that one. But Aries Humantis into pit lane as well now. And this is the thing, is what can Eric Benson do, or sorry, Dan Sedgley do from the back of that grid there? Because 2:04.5, that's not too slow a lap. I mean, that is faster than the likes of all of the Pro-Am cars in front of him. So we'll wait with bated breath to see what actually he can do here, because he is in a really good position. And another man into to the pits is Aries Humantis. As I said a couple of seconds ago, he's only just got into his pit stop box. And in fact, Dan Sedgley, 2:04.38. This could start coming around for Dan, because now he's going to start taking that time out. And now it could be a case of he does make a jump on several cars when they come in for their splash and dash.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's impossible to say at this stage, knowing that, well, not knowing, sorry, how long these pit stops are going to take for the likes of Fierro, Dreyer, Reynolds, and co. But if you go on the basis of they're going to look at around about a 16-second stop if they go on strategy as to what they were before, which seems unlikely because see they pitted with 35 minutes into the race. There's now 20, just over 20 left. So they're not going to need to pit for the same amount of time. So you'd maybe say 10 seconds around sort of that first stationary time. That still should promote Sedgley into fourth. It's probably going to promote him to third as well. I don't think it's going to get him anywhere near Stuart Reynolds and Steve Martineau, and they're really the ones he needs to focus on because they are the ones who are ahead of him in the championship. Cody Pride, unfortunately to him, we'll come back to him. He's out of the race, so he's not going to be scoring any points, which potentially, see again, we've got drop rounds. There's two, just to clarify for those of you watching, there's two drop rounds in the season, one for the first half of the season, one for the second half, either sprint or endurance, either one. But it's one of those where if that is his drop round, I don't know if it puts him out of championship contention, but it certainly puts a big dent in his chances for him.
Yeah, it does. And also what's going to work for Dan Sedgley is the fact that these three are battling it out on track there. This is Jonas Dreyer and James Fierro with what looks like Dan Gilding just behind them as well. So Dan Gilding, I was wanting to say making a nuisance of himself, but he's not really, is he? I mean, it's just these two that are making a nuisance of themselves and holding themselves back. So a spirited attempt for the AM class drivers onto the back of the Pro-Ams as well. Also noting that Area Shamantas kept coming out of the pits there, 36 seconds in pit lane. That seems an awfully long time for someone who is not that far away from finishing. 25 minutes left in the race, or sorry, 20 minutes left to go in the race here. So you wouldn't imagine that they need to take all that much fuel.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 36 seconds is definitely longer than you need for probably both pit stops, to be fair, given the time they've spent in pit lane in the first stint as opposed to what they'll have to do in the second. So yeah, really kind of out of schedule in terms of what you would normally expect from him. At the end of the day, look, there's only 2 cars running left in that pro field. It's been a real war of attrition so far. The 4 that were already there, we lost 50%, would you believe? Which sounds a lot worse than it actually is, because as I said, I think 4 in the first place. But he's a minute off the lead. He's running second from last. In fact, I think he's running second last on track because Eric Benson's in the pit lane. But again, I don't know if he's going to come back out based on time he's been in the pits. He's still going to finish P2 and get a second place on the podium. So it's a bit of a weird one, isn't it? It's just one of those where if you can finish, you're going to get points on the board, and that's what they need to keep doing. Sedgley's continuing to bring that gap down. It's 17.5 seconds now. It was 18 seconds and a bit a lap or two ago. So he's definitely starting to ramp the pace up a little bit. 204.3 on the last lap versus a 204.46 and a 204.8 from Dreyer and Fierro respectively. Dreyer, though, he seems to be pulling away a little bit. It looks like Gilding's starting to put a bit of pressure on Fierro as a result. So I don't know. Well, we'll see when they start to pit, but maybe Dreyer's going to get out of there okay, but maybe Fierro's going to lose the place to Dan Sedgley. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, we certainly are going to have to wait and see, and we're not going to have too much longer to wait, though. We are coming up to the hour mark then in the penultimate race of this Race Anywhere Porsche Cup season, here brought to you live on Absolute Sim Racing, powered by Race Anywhere, Sim 3D and Go for the Gap. And just watching as we watch the AM battle of Dan Gilding and Ryan Hamilton, although again, no, my teammates are not going to be fighting each other, but Dan Gilding absolutely wants that position from James Fierro. He is going to be taking it. You've got to feel whether he likes it or not. It's going to happen, and that position is going to head over to Ryan Gilding. Also having a look at Dan Sedgley, that gap coming down again, but not anywhere near as much as I thought it would be, although I mean, he is definitely faster. He is definitely faster. In fact, Dan Sedgley is faster than everyone that apart from Steve Martin and Eric Benson having a bit of a moment into the off-track excursion. So he's headed off outside of the bounds of track limits. Gets going again, so he's back on. But again, so easy to do. And given that we've had, 17 cars starting this race here, David, it's actually, we'll ignore the Pro Class for just now, it's actually been a very, very quiet evening for them. So as I said, just coming up to the hour mark here with just 2 minutes left to go in the first hour of this race, and just watching how things progress. And I'm going to say a very quick goodbye to my co-commentator David Dressel, who has just had to nip off to deal with an emergency. So a very good evening to him. Thanks for joining us on that part of the race there, David, and best of luck getting everything sorted out for yourself there. Eunice Dreyer into pit lane. That means that he is going to drop down a little bit. So now we're going to see the splash and dash effect coming in these final 15 minutes. It's a question of when they can hold out over this final part of the race, because realistically, I mean, Eunice Dreyer has just gone in there and has done what, a 6 second to an 8 second pit stop to get that going. So yeah, good to see that has happened. Meanwhile, back to this ARM battle then, it's still Dan Gilding trying to catch up onto the back there of Eunice Dreyer there. So Dreyer now dropping behind Sedgley. So Sedgley has already got one place by 1.22 seconds there. So crucially, as we said, sorry, this is Dan Gilding chasing down James Fierro, but Gilding trying to get past there. But Sedgley, this is now where that time is starting to come through, that little effort to try and do the undercut there. I think he's going to make some big waves once he settles back in to his final position here. As the cars just come through, Maggots and Beckett's a part of the track that I know a little bit too well from past experience. My very first Citroen C1 24-hour endurance race, and I had a horrible moment facing oncoming traffic as I got a little bit too wide onto the grass and spun the car facing onto oncoming traffic. And yeah, those cars might only be doing 90 miles an hour, but it is still just as frightening as many of these drivers have found out through the season in these Porsche Cup cars. Contact is always something that you want to avoid where possible, and most of the drivers doing a fantastic job through the season. We've praised it time and time again, have myself and David Dressel, for the incredible respect shown by all of the drivers and for the amazing fighting going on. But Dan Gilding then coming through Club Corner then into the infield section and through the loop just now. Jason Dilworth into the pit lane then from the AM class. Again, 6.23 seconds, but the damage is done. That's the thing coming into the final 14 minutes of this race, is the fact that, you know, it's a poison chalice. If you leave it until the last minute, you're not sure if you're going to be losing position out on track to somebody that maybe came in half an hour ago. And that is exactly what we're seeing here, as Dan Sedgley now up to 8th position, 204.06. So that was the fastest lap for Dan Sedgley. That was his personal best. That matched Stuart Reynolds up in 3rd position there. So again, we'll wait and see. As Dan Gilding having a look on James Fierro. James Fierro is doing his best to hold on to that position. Again, this is not for class position, because Dan Gilding currently in the lead of his AM class right now. And then obviously James Fierro currently down in 3rd position in his class as it stands. The gap now between Steve Martin and Vince Peters is just 5 seconds. Steve Martin decides enough is enough and pulls that car into the pit with 13 minutes left to go. So we'll see as Steve Martin comes in how long that is. Dan Gilding into the pits, Ryan Hamilton into the pits, so the Nomad boys are in there. And that was contact. That was a little bit of contact there from Ryan Hamilton onto the back of Dan Gilding there. And I've got no doubt that was just a little bit of teasing, a little bit of fun there. but that was definitely a little bit naughty from Ryan onto the bootleg of Dan Gilding there. So Steve Martin did a 10-second pit stop. He is back out. Vince Peters, your race leader with 12 minutes left to go, is out in charge and in front, doing a grand job there. Simon Underhill into the pits then. Ryan Hamilton has come out of the pits, and where is Dan Sedgley? Dan Sedgley now up in the 4th position in class here. He's just behind Steve Martin. So he's about, 4 seconds, I think, behind Steve Martin in that 4th position. And given Steve Martin was right up at the front, that should show you exactly how this is going to pan out. So Dan Sedgley, 9 seconds, it's shown here. I think that will change actually, because the timing screen needs to sort itself out. But Dan Sedgley, I think he has done an absolute blinder here to get himself up into that position there, into 5th just now into 4th in that Pro-Am class. Again, the timing screens will sort themselves out once all the pit stops are done. Stuart Reynolds still needs to come in. He'll be in this lap. So will James Fierro. And we can see Simon Underhill just on the back of Jason Dilworth, I believe. Everybody apart from James Fierro, Stuart Reynolds and Vince Peters into the pits. Jonas Dreyer loses out the position to Dan Gilding then, who gets that one from him. Jonas Dreyer, a little bit of a moment off track. That's what ended up handing that position over. Meanwhile, Vince Peters and Stuart Reynolds then, as predicted, into the pits. They are in the lead of their own classes. Vince Peters in the lead of the Pro class and Stuart Reynolds in the lead of the Pro-Am class. But again, this is going to be a splash and dash as they go in. James Fierro, I would imagine, will be into pit lane next time by then. He has not went into the pits there. He will take provisionally the lead of this race. That also means, I would imagine, that potentially Dan Sedgley is going to come out right behind Vince Peters. So Vince Peters now has dropped behind Steve Martin and Stuart Reynolds. That is a little bit curious because, of course, this is not for class. James Fierro, Steve Martin and Stuart Reynolds in the 1, 2, 3, but they are in Pro-Am. And Vince Peters has a 15-second stop and goes back down to 4th place overall. So curious position there for Vince. I've got no doubt he'll try and get back to the top of the field. He doesn't need to, obviously, because he's in the lead quite significantly of the class that he's in just now. Just taking a second there to pause and enjoy the sounds of these Porsche cars absolutely roaring into life. It's fantastic to see these wonderful cup cars just heading round. It's brilliant stuff there. Nomad Sim Racing, though, it's been an exemplary night out yet again for them. They have done wonderfully well. Give you an update on Dan Sedgley then. Looks like, I think, 4th place is... Well, he might actually get 3rd. If Dan Sedgley gets a podium, I think it'll be very well deserved in that Pro-Am battle. Looks like it is settled in. Dan Gilding from Ryan Hamilton and Jason Dilworth from Simon Underhill. Again, 1 to 4 for Nomad Sim Racing. Just an exemplary performance from them. Here we go then. James Fierro into the pits from the lead of the race and the lead of the Pro-Am class. Again, it's going to be about how fast he can get in, get a little splash and get back out there. But 8 minutes left to go in the race. I honestly think that Dan Sedgley could have this position. He's still in the pit lane. Probably about another 3 seconds left to go in the pit stop. In fact, 6.43. There we go then. Dan Sedgley moves up into 3rd position. That is a masterful undercut in that Pro-Am Championship. Amazing stuff. And fantastic to see here. So there we go. Pro-Am is Steve Martin, Stuart Reynolds and Dan Sedgley. So Pro is going to be Vince Peters from Aeration Mantis and Budivin Kuster, who will retire from this race. And then in the AM class, it's Dan Gilding from Ryan Hamilton and Jason Dilworth. As we said, with just about 6.5 minutes left to go in this race, we can reflect on what we've seen so far. It's been another night of mixed fortunes for the pro class. It was a very, very heated night, a frustrating night for Nick Maidson, who feels that that yet again it was a team-affected affair tonight. From what myself and David Ressel saw, it was a difficult one because, I mean, it looked like everybody was given as good as they got tonight. Certainly more so than Monza the last week round, but we can certainly understand the frustration there and hope that things do get resolved and that we see everybody out. But as we understand it, that does hand the championship, the Pro Championship, on a plate to Vince Peters after tonight. But in the Pro-Am Championship, it's still way too close to call, with Steve Martin out in front just now from Stuart Reynolds. Dan Sedgley taking that very unlikely third place as he was battling James Fierro and Eunice Dreyer. But a very early stop, a great undercut in terms of strategy, saw him undercut them, and quite significantly as well. In the AM Championship, again, Nomad guys are just a cut above right now. Dan Gilding out in front just now, but it easily could have been Ryan Hamilton or Jason Dilworth or Simon Underhill out in front. Eric Benson did a valiant effort trying to hold on to his position. He was caught in the middle of them, a bit of a sandwich really in a Nomad sim racing bit of bread. But it wasn't to be. He's now down in 5th position. So we near what's, I can only say, is probably about 2 laps left to go, as Vince Peters already starting to claw his way through. So that is him, just got past Stuart Reynolds here. Last lap round 2:03.34. I think Vince Peters is a little bit frustrated after his pit stop. Maybe he took a little bit longer than he needed to, but his got Stuart Reynolds for a bit of company here, who's not wanting to let this one lie. So Stuart Reynolds for the Pro-Am class through Copse, and again doing a decent job of trying to hold on to the back of your Pro class leader. Not only is he holding on, he might actually have a run through here at Maggots and Beckett's as they head through Chapel Curve there on to the Hangar Straight. He certainly has, you know. Stuart Reynolds actually onto the back there of Vince Peters, who is closing down on Steve Martin. This is huge because he's dragging Stuart Reynolds along, which means that he could try and catch up to Steve Martin. So close. How he missed Vince Peters there, that I have got no idea how he missed out on hitting the back end of your Pro Championship leader. That could have been so dramatic indeed. Thankfully, he did avoid the tail end. He can keep that toe and keep pushing on a little bit more. But that was very, very close, and some very scary moments, I can imagine, in the mirrors of Vince Peters. But lives to tell the tale, and again dragging Stuart Reynolds now down to catch up to Steve Martin. We could have an epic fight on our hands for the final of the Pro-Am with just 3 minutes left to go in this race. It's the Race Anywhere Porsche Cup. It's rounds 9 here at Silverstone, the penultimate round, the final endurance round of the season. We head over to Bathurst next week for the grand final. We have a sprint race, we have our normal shorter race, and then we have our longer 45-minute race as well. And boy, oh boy, you do not want to miss that. Let's have a look on board then with Stuart Reynolds, caught out by Vince Peters, early breaking into Stowe Corner there, and how he managed to avoid that, I honestly have got no idea. That was a very, very close moment there for Stuart Reynolds to avoid there. He's starting to drop a little bit back there, and I've got to be honest, I don't think Vince Peters now going to be able to catch up onto the back of Steve Martin. So it looks like Steve Martin is going to be a race winner tonight, and that is a turn up for the books here. And just watching Jason Dilworth. Oh, that is a slightly awkward moment there for Jason Dilworth there on the exit of Aintree. drops it all by himself. And unfortunately, yeah, that's going to be a little bit embarrassing there for Jason Dilworth. But he gets going again, loses the position to Simon Underhill, and other than that, he doesn't really have anything else to worry about tonight. Dan Sedgley is not going to be making up any further positions. He is 8 seconds behind Stuart Reynolds. Stuart Reynolds now half a second still behind Vince Peters, who's a second and a half behind Steve Martin. So again, it's all eyes focused on the front of the field, though. We're way to get another lap ticked off here, and potentially this could be our final lap of the race. So here we go, with just 1 minute left to go then. It's going to be Steve Martin for Benzo Racing ahead of Vince Peters and Stuart Reynolds on the track there. Again, Stuart Reynolds about 2 seconds behind our race leader here, so this could be an epic finish to this race. I don't think it is going to. I think it's going to be as it stands here. I don't think Vince Peters is going to do anything remarkable on this final lap, purely because he's going to want to save those points and celebrate what as I said, I imagine is a championship win, as Vince Peters goes wide. Vince Peters sends it down into Brooklands, goes very wide indeed, and almost loses that position out to Stuart Reynolds. He's certainly got a lot more pressure than he did before. Here comes Steve Martin though, down the Hamilton straight as he comes out of club, then through the corner in towards, through the back straight here, through towards Copse, and then in towards Maggots and Beckett. So Vince Peters again under pressure from the number 35 here, and I'm actually genuinely worried about this, because what we don't want is we don't want the championship leader, the championship elect, to inadvertently get wiped out on the last lap, because I would be moving aside and letting that car go if that was me, but obviously not. Obviously that is not what we are doing here. We know that it's going to be absolutely sent up the inside from Stuart Reynolds, but it's not to be. Meanwhile, we turn our attention to Steve Martin then, who is the unlikeliest winner of the race this season, but a brilliant race win, and absolutely unsurprising to see him in the Pro-Am win, but fantastic to see another overall win there for Steve Martin then. Stuart Reynolds finishes in second for Pro-Am, third place on track. Vince Peters wins the Pro Championship, I believe, from tonight. We'll confirm that when we can. So first place is, as we said, Steve Martin. Second place, Vince Peters. Third place, Stuart Reynolds. Fourth place, Dan Sedgley. James Fierro comes in fifth. Dan Gilding in sixth. Ryan Hamilton in seventh. Simon Underhill will finish in eighth position. Arias Humantis in ninth. Jason Dilworth in 10th. Eric Benson in 11th place. DNFs for Eunice Dreyer, Budovan Kuster, Nick Maidson, Harry Wills and Cody Pride. Donuts in the background, and I get the feeling that is some celebrations for Nomad Sim Racing. Again, unsurprisingly, an amazing drive, and instant congratulations from Vince Peters to Steve Martin for taking that race win, and that is a remarkable performance to see a Pro-Am driver taking the overall win ahead of the Pro drivers. Yeah, that is awesome stuff to say. Now, just obviously we'll wait and see if we've got any drivers to have a chat with, but let's run through the race results then from that last race then. And as I said, Steve Martin takes the overall win, but we'll go through the AM class first. It's Dan Gilding from Ryan Hamilton, Simon Underhill from Jason Dilworth, it's Eric Benson, and Dean Timms takes that sixth position there for your AM class. In the Pro-Am class then, it is Steve Martin from Stuart Reynolds from Dan Sedgley, who takes that third place. A brilliant podium for Dan Sedgley. Fourth place for James Fierro. Fifth place for Eunice Dreyer, who finishes 3 laps back, and DNFs for Harry Wills and Cody Pride. Moving on then to the pros then, and it is a short list, this one. Vince Peters takes the win, over 35 seconds over Arias Humantis. Burivan Kuster DNFs with Nick Maidson after some earlier contact, and I get the feeling the stewards are going to be very, very busy tonight. As we said, we had to very briefly say goodbye to David Russell earlier on. He had to nip off for a little bit. It looks like the broadcast room is looking a little bit quiet tonight. So I guess if nobody's coming in to have a chat with us, that is it for us tonight then. We will say a very big thank you to all of our commercial partners. As always, a huge thank you to Race Anywhere, to Sim3D, and to Go for the Gap. A huge thank you to David Russell as well for joining us through the first 3/4 of that race, and a huge thank you as always to the man behind the scenes, giving us all the beautiful pictures and all making us look so wonderful tonight, Mr. Mike Yao. And a huge thank you as always to you out there at home watching this Race Anywhere Porsche Cup. We'll be back same time next week for the final. We'll be here for 2 races at Bathurst. It is going to be an absolutely explosive final. Make sure you join us then. But for myself and everyone here, have a wonderful night.
This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in indoor series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iRacing.com.